Amnesty International has issued a scathing statement on government's intelligence reporting. The organization says the almost week-long violent looting spree, which resulted in the death of more than 300 people, has exposed the country's glaring security failures. The rights watchdog is calling on government to be transparent and reveal the intelligence it had ahead of last week's riots. Amnesty also wants officials in the security cluster to be held accountable for failing to protect people and private property. But the acting minister in the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says government will not be pressured to yield to Amnesty's demands.
I think Amnesty International is going beyond their own scope of work. What we have committed, that's why we are reporting the number of deaths, the number of the murders, and also the inquest. So the full investigation is going to be held and make sure that those who are accountable are held liable. It's not in the best interest of this country to disclose the intelligence information that was at the disposal of the state. And Amnesty International must be satisfied with the fact that everybody who has died or every damage that has been caused in this country will be fully accounted for, and those who have murdered people will be fully will be apprehended and brought before the law so that they can face the consequences of their action, whether by planning the unrest or by killing people during the unrest.
Well, to discuss their concerns, we now cross to the director of Amnesty International South Africa, Shenilla Mohamed. Shenilla, thank you so much for joining us. As you heard there, the acting minister in the presidency criticizing your organization for going beyond its scope of work. So explain to us, what exactly is Amnesty's mandate?
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. Well, you know, it's actually quite unfortunate that the minister feels that Amnesty has gone beyond its scope of work, because this is exactly what Amnesty's scope of work is. Amnesty's scope of work is to monitor and to report on human rights violations wherever we see them, and whoever has, whoever is responsible for them, and to really call out, those that are responsible. So in the case of the protest, that is exactly what we were doing. We were working according to our mandate. And, again, the state is the main duty bearer according to our constitution, to keep the people of South Africa and the property in South Africa, etc., safe. And they failed dismally in this regard. So, it's fine to say that, Amnesty is going beyond, but actually what we are asking for is what every South African is wanting to know. What went wrong? What did they know? When did they know it? And who's going to be held accountable? Yes, we can take people to court, etc., but we have yet to learn exactly what happened in the days leading up to the protest, because, as far as we were concerned, there was a lot of information, but there was no action on the part of the state.
What information are you looking to get, Shenilla? And should the government not yield that information, are you going to take any other steps to try and compel them to reveal that info?
No, I mean, for us, this is really a call to the Cyril Ramaphosa's government to say that, this is the time now to come clean, to basically tell South Africans, take them into your confidence, tell them what happened, tell them what went wrong, and basically restore the confidence of the people who live in South Africa in the government. Because at the moment, people are nervous. They don't know whether the state has the capacity. And of course, the public bickering between various parts of the security cluster, the Minister of State Security, the police, is not helping restore confidence. And what we're saying is ultimately the responsibility lies with the state. And so, they need to, to really share with South Africans, when they got the information, why it took so long to act. Because if we look at the damage that the minister has been referring to, the lives that have been lost, almost 300 lives have been lost. Those could, in our view, could have been prevented had the right steps been taken at the right time. So what we are asking for is, transparency. What happened? What went wrong? And, with regards to Amnesty taking further steps, we are in the process of compiling a report on what we feel went wrong, and really looking closely at the causes of death of the people who died, etc. And once we have compiled that, we will then look at it and see, what in addition Amnesty would like to do going forward. But at the moment, we are in the process of gathering our own analysis of what happened.
Shenilla, you also speak about the slow deployment of soldiers in your statement. 25,000 eventually deployed days after the unrest, and the security cluster saying at the time that, listen, we can't just deploy soldiers. It takes time for them to get on the ground. Do you buy that excuse?
Well, I mean, in my view, how much time do you need? I mean, they had time. I mean, the fact that they only started responding 4 days after the violence and the looting and the unrest broke out is just unacceptable. And, it took even further time for the security, the soldiers to be deployed. So, no, in answer to your question, we don't buy that because, there was so much damage and so many people had already been affected by the looting. And, they started off with saying that they were going to, the numbers were very small, and then eventually they went up to 25,000. But in our view, this should have been done. There was, the media was already exposing. I mean, if you look at the timeline from the time that President Zuma, first appeared in court and when, he was eventually incarcerated, there were loads of examples of violence that was already unfolding. We saw what happened on the N3 when it was closed down and the trucks were burnt. We saw the looting that already started. So, I mean, how much time did they need in order to do what was right and to restore the security and the safety in this country? So, in our view, one of the biggest problems was that they took way too long, and it's important for us to understand why. Saying that they're not going to be pressured into revealing anything, well, that doesn't answer the questions that are in the minds of most of the people who live in this country. That, why did this take so long? Why did those people have to die? Because remember, those were breadwinners, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, family members. Those were not just statistics. Those were people. Those were humans with rights, and those rights were violated. So, and including the property owners, they also had rights,
Yeah.
So there was a lot of rights violations, right to food, right to security, right to movement, etc., that were violated. And of course, we have the right as a civil society to demand some sort of explanation from the state. And, again, the state has not been very forthcoming.
Shenilla Mohamed is the director of Amnesty International South Africa. Shenilla, thank you so much for joining us. 337 people have died, and Amnesty International says we need answers from government.